That sounds great.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to That Sounds Great. We have a very fantastic episode lined up for you today. We are here at the Cube, the home of producers in London. And yeah, we've got a very special guest lined up, as usual. I know you love to hear me say those words. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about the guest today, G.
So today, guys, we have a special guest. I cannot wait to get into the conversation because we're looking forward to this one for a while as well. So Asadi is our guest, and Asadi's a performer, a writer, a composer, beat maker, engineer even, just a cool dude, and he has the best hair in the industry, sorry. So Asadi has an influence from Persian music, and he's fused it together with trap music, electronic music, and overall he's just so good at making music and just finger drumming, sitar, the tar as well, so much stuff. So guys, let's just get Asadi on the show.
Thank you for having me.
How you doing, man?
Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure,
This is
man. Thank you so
amazing.
much, dude.
I'm being interviewed by Khash and G. How you guys doing?
We're good, bro.
All
It's
good,
good to
man.
have you here, man.
100%, dude. We're super excited to have you today, man. And we've got some amazing questions lined up as well. But first, Danny Asadi, what we like to do with our guests is we like to ask them to give an introduction to themselves. So, tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much introduced it. You did a great job introducing me. Thank you very much for that. I just basically I'm a producer and live artist that grew up in Columbus, Ohio, in the United States. But my background is Persian. My parents are both from Iran. And I always had a strong fascination for incorporating my heritage into like the modern music industry in the west side of the world. So that is basically the billboard for what my music stands for, is to create Middle Eastern influence electronic and hip hop music.
Wow.
Wow.
That's smart,
That's
man.
a brilliant intro.
I love that. And your music is unbelievable.
Yeah,
man.
it's so unique. That's what I love about it. So tell us a bit more about that heritage and how that formed who you are and you know how you got started with music.
Well, how it got started was in early high school. My dad brought me a Persian sitar from Iran.
Nice.
And at the time I was in a band, I was playing guitar, I was like singing like pre-puberty. I sounded like, well, I was in like this like emo band, and we thought we were like the hottest thing in our town. And we were like opening up for all these like college bands, and we were like 12, 10 years old. We felt like complete rock stars. And I was yeah, I was singing and I sounded like it was because it was pre-puberty, I sounded like Paramore, and we were just making all this like hardcore like pop emo music.
Love that.
And
Love
my
that.
dad, when my dad brought a sitar, at the same time I was learning about like music technology and how you can just like simply play like an orchestra on a keyboard, or like any sound like off of a keyboard. And I noticed that there was a strong affiliation with like connecting the keyboard to the computer and like picking all your sounds and everything. And I didn't know that was what I was really interested in on the technology side, was
Mhm.
considered producing. And when my dad brought the Persian sitar, those two kind of eureka moments for me came together at the same time, where I realized there was also these instruments that like strongly represented my heritage and who I am. And it was just an incredible sounding instrument, and I really wanted to learn it. Um, so it was the Persian sitar, and luckily, for just like I guess out of destiny, there was happened to be a Persian sitar teacher in my hometown, Columbus, Ohio, which is like
Wow.
it was like I won the lottery. So
Wow.
every Sunday I would go to the basement of this public library that allowed him to like teach his students there. So we're at this like the
Wow.
basement of this library where there's like it's like the children's like babysitting section of the library. And there's like all these children's books everywhere, and we would sit on all these
Nice.
plastic chairs and like learn the sitar. So I learned like all these like traditional basic Persian songs, and then one day he started playing some like more moody like in the
Mm.
minor key harmonic minor stuff, and I was like, you need to teach me that. So then like after
Wow.
those classes, like on like maybe Wednesdays or Mondays, I would also go to his house and learn privately. And he was just really passionate in helping me. And the man did it for
Wow.
free. He just did it because he liked to help.
No
Insane.
Yeah,
way.
like his class every Sunday was in a town called Upper Arlington at a public library, and it was completely free. He just did it because he wanted people to learn the Persian sitar. Yeah.
Wow.
I
Wow.
mean, there was one
That's
time
incredible.
he said, I'm going to start charging for classes because I want that money to go towards helping civilians in Afghanistan. Like back when Obama and Bush were in
Wow.
office, like during that time, there was just a lot of like war and torn villages and stuff in Afghanistan, and he really wanted to go help the kids, like build schools and stuff. So that's the only time he ever charged people, just for that reason. Like it just
Wow.
really set the bar for like, I don't know, authenticity attached to that
Mm.
instrument just from the teacher. It goes a lot to show like how important the teacher is in the process.
Mm.
Like they can really, like I met a lot of kids that didn't learn an instrument because they hated the teacher. Like the teacher made the instrument
Yeah.
annoying.
Yeah, I never thought
Yeah,
about it like that. Just the importance of
Mm.
having a teacher that actually is passionate about what they do and just isn't there for the money. And especially when it comes to like people like that that literally don't care about that side of
Yeah.
things. They're so selfless and just like passionate about teaching that instrument.
Hundred percent.
Must have been really yeah, truly something that you hold close to your heart, those sessions.
exactly. So yeah, that happened, and I just got really into it. And when I was around 15 years old, I started getting a little bit better at learning about the music technology, learning about producing. I was on FL. I had like a MIDI keyboard, like two little speakers, like learning electronic music.
Mm-hmm.
My
Mm-hmm.
biggest inspirations at that time were like house DJs
Oh,
and like
nice.
Swedish House Mafia, Dead Mouse, um,
Nice.
Cascade, like especially Steve Angelo. I was like obsessed with Steve Angelo, like dissecting his songs and like learning
Wow.
how to make that like
Mm.
massive Swedish house sound. So like that massiveness like started with that style. Uh, and then like around age 16, 15, I went to Iran,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to, or no, sorry, let me restate this. When I was 14, I went to Iran over 3 weeks in December and learned uh, tar and, well, I'm sorry, learned sitar, got a new sitar and got a bunch of new like softwares and stuff from Iran and
Mm-hmm.
brought them to the
Mm.
States.
Wow.
Started learning more with a little bit better sitar, started getting better at it. But then that following summer, I went back to Iran and found a tar and found a tar teacher that taught me for
Wow.
3 weeks straight um,
Wow.
how to play the tar, which is a new instrument. It's a Persian instrument that's about 200 years old, um, or a few hundred years old. It's pretty new, but it looks ancient. It has a
Mm.
very ethnic banjo sound. I don't know how to describe
Mm-hmm.
it, but uh, it's I learned it for 3 weeks straight, like a boot camp. I brought it back home and just kept watching YouTube videos of people playing it, and I try to like mimic what they did. And like
Mm-hmm.
majority of my upbringing on tar was pretty much homeschooled, trying to be like the greats on it. So that
Mm.
happened at age 16. Uh, I was getting better at tar, and at the same time, I got my hands on a machine, which is like a drum pad, 16 buttons, where you can control any sound on it. And I mean, if you know the machine or you know MPC or drum pad, like you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by that too. I thought I liked the sound of electronic music, but I always was passionate about the live element of being in a band.
Right.
I also loved and respected just people who are masters at just like one instrument. Like you could go see like a guitarist on stage and all he needs is the guitar and like he can throw down the whole show. Like I love that. I
Yeah.
love that minimalism.
Mm.
So I wanted to incorporate that somehow through electronic music, and when I saw the machine, I fell in love. I thought that that was the way to convey that message. I saw the machine more of less of a production tool, less of a controller for the stage and more of an instrument. So I started
Right.
creating like some sort of system where I had each sound that were primarily drums at a certain part of the pads, and it's like playing a drum set. Like the snare is always here, the hi-hats here, cymbals are here. And so long story short, by age 16, I was full force focused on being great at playing the Persian tar, being great at playing the Persian sitar, uh, being great at playing the drum pad, and somehow putting my passion in electronic music and my Persian heritage together to create something that I think the entire Middle Eastern community rightfully deserves.
And
Wow.
rightfully resonated with, I think,
Wow.
as well.
That was insane. I mean, you
That's
took us through a journey there, man. That's
felt
that's
like I was
amazing.
there.
Yeah, literally. I mean, you kind of answered the next question that I had about heritage and how important it is to your music. But let's talk about today when you're you've got tons of videos out there. There's a lot of content that you're creating regularly. How much input is the heritage kind of going in, and when you're kind of when you're starting your process into creation or music creation, do you start with maybe the sitar first and start with the heritage rather than kind of more the Western side of things, or do you go maybe start with the drums, or kind of where's your starting process?
I would always start with like a melody. Like I would always
Mhm.
start with a really catchy melody. That was like my
Mhm.
thing, is like everything has to hook like from the start
Yeah.
with the melody. Then I would make drums that suit that melody. I would always do it that way. So every time I made a song, it was like I would I would create a sample, like I'd find a sample, or I would play an instrument to that's just this catchy, mesmerizing, like looping melody that can go on for
Mm,
like hours and hours, and I would make a song out of that essentially. That's why you hear that in like Caspian. Um,
yeah.
Overall, like my musical style, if you listen back, you'll notice a lot of elements that you can tell derive from that era of house music, progressive house music, where it's about the looping of the melody, you know, like
Yeah.
the infinite loop. But
Yeah.
it's about like less is more. It's not about doing some crazy stuff. Like if you listen to my drums, if you even listen to the way I play my instruments, like I'm very modest. Like I'm not crazy at it, but the production element together puts you in a world, right?
Yeah.
It's where
Yeah.
the instruments sit in the mix, how
Mm,
I'm choosing my sound design, how the song's even structured to begin with. That um, is like what m- what is most important to me aside from
mm.
the melody. It's not like doing some crazy drums or overproducing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I think it's really important to have all those different little layers that then, once you put them all together, they, like you said, they take someone into a whole different world. But so just speaking to some of that heritage stuff and your live performances, who were your like musical influences growing up? I know you spoke a bit about Paramount earlier, but yeah, tell us a bit more about the Western side of influences and then the Persian side.
It's kind of funny what my influences are, because it would be like when I was younger, it was like Kendrick and Travis Scott, and then like Swedish House Mafia, and then like Pretty Lights, and uh some like hard bass guys, and then like Masoud Bakhtiari, or like Mohammad,
Nice.
you know, like some crazy like folklore Persian singers like from back in the day, and they just
Yeah.
like hit me, you know.
Yeah, that's iconic.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre to even come across the thought of putting those worlds together, but my guy Danny
It works.
does it to a T.
It works. So I just want to touch a little bit, Danny, on the Persian community, right? And how important their support is, and obviously, like talking to a new generation out there, right? And how
Yeah.
important support is when you're kind of coming up, and your community support. So how has it been for you, man?
I mean, I was the weirdo in the beginning of this. Like, my parents are like, "What are you doing? Like, mixing these two together? Like, the Americans are not gonna get this." Like, And my friends at first were like, "This is a little off." Um,
Mm.
but then I met a few people who like were more open minded, and they were just in love with the sound. And when I met those kids in high school, that's what like motivated me to be like, okay, what I'm doing is right. And then I went to like my first music festival, Electric Forest, which was in Rothbury, Michigan. And I saw the weirdest bands, like the weirdest artists. And I'm like, if they're playing the main stage and like it's a packed crowd, like I definitely can do this. And I looked at one of those stages
Mm.
and I looked at my friend. And I was like, I'm gonna play on that stage one day, you know. And then like 4 years later, I played on the stage next to it.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Still at the festival though.
That's
That's
awesome.
that's amazing, man.
yeah. So
That's
it
awesome.
was it was a it was a beautiful process for me. I
Mm.
learned I learned a lot about just being myself. And I guess one thing that us kids that are born to immigrant parents, we all can relate to. My friends and I, we call it like the diaspora or diaspora community. We all don't fully feel like we belong to the country we're born in or based in, and we don't fully feel like we belong to our heritage. And as an
Mm.
artist, I'm like the billboard for that. Like the
Mm.
Americans fans, they think I'm foreign. They think I'm a foreign artist. And all the Middle Eastern fans that actually live in the Middle
Mm.
East, they think I'm an American artist. I'm like this weird
Wow.
in between.
Yeah.
And over time, I noticed I started becoming musically kind of the representation of these in betweeners. And I started
Mm.
meeting more in betweener artists. And we like we get each other. Like I get them, I get where
Mm.
they're coming from, and we get along so well, like more than anyone else. Um, because and we come from all different corners of the US or North America or UK or Europe, but we talk to each other like we met each other yesterday. It's
Mm.
insane. And I think it's because we may not we may have holes in our culture, whether it's the American side for the American ones, or like the Western side, or it's our heritage. We may have holes,
Yeah.
you know, some of them, like some embarrassing holes, like to be honest, my Farsi isn't amazing. It's conversational, but it's not like fluent.
Mhm. Mhm.
um but at the same time, I find myself knowing more about the origins, the mythology, the history, and uh and the different subsects of
Mhm.
what it means to be a Persian musician than most people who actually live in the country and speak fluent Farsi.
Yeah. Bet.
It's so
Yeah.
interesting. There's a lot of people in uh countries like Iran that are fascinated by the this country, like the US, right?
Mm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they but then I'm someone born and raised in the US. I was born in Dallas, raised in Columbus, Ohio, who
Who makes Persian
who
trap music?
strongly appreciates, yeah, what they
Wow.
walk past
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
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 right?
Yeah.
And
No, it's super
it's
fascinating.
something about that it's that common human constant want for something that they don't have or something that they don't experience.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird lesson of like, I guess, really appreciate like who you are and what's around you. Just because you see it every
Mm.
day, that doesn't lose its value,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, that's
Wow.
some strong stuff.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
oh, it's that time,
Oh, it's
man.
that time of the show.
Dude, that was amazing. Though. What
Just,
you were saying there, Sadi,
I
was
know, man.
remarkable.
I kind of wish we didn't go to that part right there.
I know, man. It's that time.
But we can jump back into it. We can jump back into it.
That was important.
Yeah, that was beautiful, man.
Thank you.
I felt like you were really, really, speaking from the heart there, and I
man,
could feel it.
It's
It was-
important for the listeners out there as well, man. We want to hear more of that stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, I know we need to go into this, but just how important it is to kind of just break some barriers and do something different.
Yeah.
Instead of just following other people, you're
Yeah.
making your own thing. And dude, to be honest, I mean, I've seen you through Khash and stuff, but I don't know anyone that's doing the same thing as you, bro. So
Nah, no one.
keep at it. But yeah, let's
really, really powerful stuff about being in the in between as well of
Yeah.
the two different.
that was exactly that.
I can vibe with that quite a lot
100%.
actually.
Thank you.
So yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, Asadi, but we'll jump straight back into it. But for the meantime, we're going to play the album interlude section. Essentially, what that means is you've got 60 seconds to answer as many quick-fire questions as possible, and then at the end of the round, we'll tally you up and see how you compare to the rest of the guests we've had on the show. How does that sound, my friend?
Okay. I hope I don't embarrass myself. Let's do it.
We'll find out. We'll see. Okay, ready? Your
Timer.
timer starts now. Favorite instrument?
Persian tar.
What comes first, drums or melody?
Melody.
Persian or Iranian?
Persian.
Analog or digital?
Digital.
What's your studio drink?
Iced coffee.
Headphones or speakers?
Headphones.
What's your favorite shampoo?
I hate you guys. I hate you.
Oh.
I hate you.
Go! You're running out of time.
It's called Pattern. I love Pattern.
All right, cool. Sitar or drum machine?
Sitar.
Oof. Favorite all-time music genre?
Just can I just say electronic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite plugin?
My favorite plugin is Gem Dopamine.
Oh, your time ran out.
What was that?
Time
Sorry,
ran out.
Asadi. What was that? Sorry, the last plugin?
It's called Gem Dopamine.
Ooh, Gem Dopamine.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Okay, so I got it from Disclosure. They
Okay.
love using this. Throw this on your vocals or anything that you want brightened. So what you do is it's 3 knobs: dry, wet, and level.
Wow.
The wet is a combination. The dry is dry. The wet is the combination of tape saturation, tape emulation, parallel high compression, like high frequency compression, de-essing,
Wow.
and some smoothing EQing situation.
Wow.
I
sounds sick.
think it's like emulating a real analog piece of equipment. I think so. I'm not quite sure, but I think someone explained it how like when you're running music through tape, some tapes, like if you like kind of crank it a bit, it like brings up the high end a little bit, or it has some sort of
Right.
it brings some sort of silver to the sound, and that's what the Gem Dopamine does, but kind of like cranked up. So you have the
Nice.
dry, the wet, and then the output level, and it's incredible because I used to have these like all these crazy like chains and all these like 5 different plugins just to make like the vocals brighter without making them harsh, because you can't just boost 10K and then it makes it brighter. Like you have to have some
Yeah,
sort of controlled brightness boost, and that's what that
Yeah,
plugin
yeah.
does in one knob.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Wow, That sounds really good, man.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Awesome. I actually, he did quite alright there until we got to the shampoo question.
I know. That was damn.
got
You gave
him.
it away, man.
We got
Gave it away.
him.
I'm actually gonna try and get that. As
We
well.
got him. I actually had an interesting question because I know you're a guy that likes to work out. If you were an athlete, what sport would it be in?
I always wanted to play hockey, actually. I played
Oh.
hockey in middle
like
school.
ice hockey?
Ice hockey.
Nice.
I played ice hockey in middle school for like one season, and I was just ass. I was so bad, but I loved it. It was so much fun. It's just so fast paced, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Yeah, we'll we'll have to jump into the questions now. I'm sorry for that little interval there, but
Man.
It was awesome.
oh man, we didn't even get to my favorite, your favorite conditioner question.
Oh.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. What how do you come up with? Oh man, honestly, I've lost my mind here. How
Let's
do
go.
it took us what 7 episodes
Oh
for me
man.
to lose my mind. How do you come up with new beat ideas and creations? Like what inspires you to like? Is it something a melody that comes in your head, or like you just sat around one day and think, oh, I want to be creative and productive today? Like what's the process look like?
The overall process of making music is I like to try. Mainly, I'm not gonna sound like I don't want to sound like I'm like this like master guru guy. Like I definitely rely on the computer heavily. Like I'm not some like hug the trees person, but I try to stay acoustic first, play the
Right.
instrument, and if it just on the instrument itself, if it gives me goosebumps, if it gives me goosebumps or makes me like, let's do this. I want to make this song. Then I'll
Mhm.
get on the computer, record it, and then start designing the sounds and I then my brain just goes like
Yeah.
I'm like telling myself I need this, 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 I need this. And next thing I know
Yeah.
it's like something's built, I take a break, I come back and now I have drums, some sort of textures, the instruments with their mixing and everything. And then I know now I have this thing. And then I start thinking about structure. Is this a drop? Is this like the bridge? What is this? What could happen before this? What could happen after this? When should I
Mhm.
bring this back? Is there another idea I want to create where I should like foreshadow it here and then bring
Mhm.
that idea? It's like writing a book.
And
But
and do you
but I
always have
first
that
need
live element in mind?
say that again.
Do you always have that live element in mind as well as you do in these productions?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, it's just fun for me to like play. Like, I
Mm.
can't like programming is I start to get like what was I doing again? Like in the middle of like clicking and
Mm.
programming. But if I'm
Yeah.
playing live first with the melody, then I can do my programming next. Then I can do my sound designing next. But it first needs to feel like a musician. I need to feel the energy that's coming out of the way I'm playing an instrument.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I'm not the best tar player. It's pretty obvious if you play tar. I'm not the best tar player. I make
Mhm.
catchy tar melodies. I make catchy solos and stuff, but I'm not a professional on tar by no means.
Mhm.
Same with all my other instruments. I'm not the best drum pad player too, to be honest. Like there's a few that I know that are
That's
way
debatable.
faster than me at the finger drumming and whatnot. Um, but I'm the best at being a Saudi, right?
Mm.
Like
I
I'm the
like that.
best
Love
I
at
like
that.
playing
that.
it my way,
Love
playing the
that.
Yeah, yeah.
drums my
Yeah.
way. When you hear the way I play the drum pad versus the way other people play, it's me. Like when you
You
hear
got swag on it.
tar, like it's me. You know.
Yeah, yeah. You got your own swag in it, which is amazing. I mean, that's what makes you you, as you were saying, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I want to just take it back slightly a little bit to your, is it college or university? Correct me if I'm wrong. Full Sail University, actually, yeah. So university.
Yeah.
So you studied at Full Sail. You did your whole kind of 3-4 years, or
Yeah. So the story behind that was, should I tell you the long story or the short story?
so the question kind of goes back to performing. Did you perform out when you was in Full Sail as well? Because a lot the question I've got is a lot of people that I talk to or we talk to kind of regularly gone Full Sail. They've become an engineer, one of the biggest studios, and obviously you've gone a different route, which is kind
Yeah.
of like wow. So what did you study? Did you perform? Did you fall in love with performing there as well? And
Yeah.
kind of a little bit of the journey during Full Sail.
I went to Full Sail because I wanted to get good at making my music sound good. So I went to their recording arts program to learn mixing and mastering and also recording, but like mainly focus on mixing and mastering.
Sorry, just to quickly interrupt there. How far were you into your sort of career, I guess, before deciding you wanted to go to Full Sail? Was this like when you'd already knew exactly what kind of thing you were
It
after and then
was
decided to go study?
it was 2,000 followers pretty much on every social
Wow.
media and like 1,000 plays on a SoundCloud link kind of
Wow.
thing.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. and no videos online, nothing. Actually, no, one video. That's not true. One video. It was like an above shot video of me playing the
Mhm.
drums,
Wow.
and
Nice.
As Asadi, at the end of this question, sorry, just to interrupt. At the end of could you maybe just when you talk about Full Sail as well, just maybe touch on your big break as well, because I feel like you can go into that a little bit from university having 2,000 followers. Maybe just edge it off into how you got your first big break
Mhm.
and when that was as well.
yeah, actually, I'd love to mention what happened before Full Sail too, because
Hmm.
that's a story of its
Do
own
it.
as well.
Do
Um,
it.
yeah, I'd love to mention that because yeah. So what happened was in high school, as I was starting to in high school when I was 16, a lot of my friends that were open minded and were really loving what I was doing loved Pretty Lights. There was this like trippy glitch hop artist from I think Denver, and he did a lot of heavy sampling. His music was dark. They loved that, and trap, EDM trap, electronic trap was blowing up. Flostradamus, Diplo, this artist named Hoochie, uh, Bauer, RL Grime, Harlem Shake, all that stuff. That was like blowing up at the time. I loved those 808s. I love those
Yeah.
drums. And I was in the middle of like my journey of trying to figure out how to fuse like my sitar with like four on the floor rhythms and stuff. And I was like, no, I want to do this. And then I put that together and I made what I did was I took a cassette from my parents' basement. It had an artist's face on it by the name Sitar. There was a song called Panda Hafez on that cassette, and I recorded onto FL, put some 808s behind it, and I released it on SoundCloud. That
Wow.
was my first like Persian trap song. That was my first song where I was
Nice.
like, "This is Asadi," and that's when I decided like that's what I'm going to. That sparked the voyage of like who I am today. So when I started doing that, I started also saying like to myself like, all right, I got to start making more of this and actually start developing myself as an artist. I'm like 16, I'm like a minor, like thinking these things.
That's crazy.
And I didn't, there was like social media and like the whole thing of what the internet is today wasn't there for me. I
Hmm.
thought what was more important was to like put together shows. So senior year, I tried to get like, I was a big introvert. Like I was really to myself, didn't have a lot of friends because all I did was go to school, come home, go to my basement, and make music. Senior year, I decided to like just be more outgoing, meet more people, like make more friends, so that at the end of the year they can all come to my show. With the help
Good
of
plan.
my close
Smart.
friends, we got two high schools to come see me at
Wow.
this like venue where like a bunch of big bands played. It was like 300 people in this small room, or like almost 400 people in this small room, and then close to 700, 800 people in a bigger venue like 2 months later. When that happened, that was the summer of my senior year in high school. Right after that, uh, because I got accepted to an engineering program, not music engineering, like soldering things and like computer
Oh,
programming
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
Right.
engineering
Yeah.
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
Ohio State University. I had like a 4.2 average. It was like a weighted average like in high school. I had a 1.9 average the first semester in electrical computer engineering because I hated it.
Wow.
Because I went from putting together my own shows and having 700 people come to like learning like trigonometry. So
Wow.
I dropped out respectfully and went, and my parents helped me move down to Orlando for 2 years to go to Full Sail. It was my dream college. I When I was in third grade, when I was like 7, 8 years old, I used to call admissions and say, "Is there any way I can skip middle school and go to and go to Full Sail
Wow.
instead?" And the lady was laughing. I was like mad that she was laughing. I'm like, I'm
Oh
serious.
man. Wow.
So yeah, yeah. So
Love that.
I went to that school. Finally, it was my dream. Uh, and yeah, like I all of a sudden went from being in a town where there was not a single mixing engineer around me to teach me what it takes to create like professional level music sonically, to every teacher like there ready for any questions for me to ask. And there was this one teacher that was just brilliant. I would ask him questions during his office hours every day after school. So every day for like the first half of um, my 2 years in that school, my 2 year bachelor's, I was at his office every day asking him questions like what is compression, what is parallel compression, what is mixing, what is mastering, all
Wow.
this stuff. He would tell me things like, "Don't worry, you're gonna learn this like in your class in like 2 months." I was like, "Or you could just teach it to me now." Like I
Wow.
would annoy the hell out of these teachers,
Who the hell is this
you
kid,
know.
man?
And once I got good at that sound, I was also getting really good at the drum pad stuff.
Mm.
And one day I was starting to see people make these videos on Facebook, and they were getting like 1 million, 2 million views. And these guys were just like basic pushing these buttons.
Wow.
And my competitive self was like, I can do that, you know. And then I had my friend help me like make some videos. And one day I was driving home from school to my apartment, and Kanye West like dropped his Life of Pablo album, and one of the songs he was like artistically like he like released an a cappella called I Love Kanye, and I thought it was hilarious that it was pure a cappella, and I thought it would be funny if I combined it with the ending credits to the Nickelodeon show SpongeBob SquarePants. And so I mashed them up together.
How does that even cross your mind?
So
So
How?
smart.
so in the so in the middle of me trying to be this like master like Middle Eastern electronic like guru guy,
Yeah.
I decided to fuse SpongeBob SquarePants and Kanye West together, and I told my friend to film me. And
As you do.
yeah, that video blew up. It got like 30 million views on Facebook. It was like number 3 on Facebook top trending. It was
That's
on like
crazy.
it was on Billboard magazine. It was on World Star.
Wow.
It was like number 5 on Twitter, like top Twitter hashtags. Like TikTok kids still use like that thing today, and
Wow.
yeah, it got me an agent actually. Like
Oh my God.
about a week into it, an agent from one of these like a lot of the artists that played at Electric Forest, like his agency represented them.
Oh,
So it was
wow.
really
Okay,
cool
yeah.
that he reached out to me, and he was like, I really like what you're doing with your live element. Your mashup thing was hilarious, but I know that you can do more, and I saw what you do, and I'm really into it. I would love to get you some shows. I said, let's do it. No contract, nothing. This guy a week later gets me a festival show offer every week. Every week, festival show offer.
Damn.
And next thing I know, just because of SpongeBob SquarePants and Kanye West, I was able to push my career, like jumpstart it and start doing. I was lucky to find an agent, first of all, or an agent find me, and play all these festival shows where everyone's expecting to hear SpongeBob and Kanye West. And in the meantime, I'm putting my Persian logo on the wall, my Zoroastrian Persian logo on the wall, and playing Persian trap music. And they had no, like most of these kids like had no idea. That's how I started building my fan base. You know, and that happened while I was in school. So while I was in school, I got this agent. While I was in school, my video blew up. And I still had like about a year, 6 months to a year left. I would fly out to play a show in like Austin, Texas, or Phoenix, and then at a festival where there was like Post Malone and like I don't know, like 21 Savage was playing, and then I'd fly back in time so I don't miss my class, because if you miss your class, then you fail that class.
Dude.
They like took attendance very seriously. So that
Wow.
it was like, yeah, so it was, I used Full Sail to simply get my sound design right to create what I always wanted to create. If it wasn't for that one teacher in Full Sail, I'm not even going to give credit to any other classes as Full Sail. I'm only going to give credit to the teacher. That teacher was what I feel like I paid my tuition for. He was the man. Like he helped me since day one, helped me almost like as if it was like a second job for him. This guy was
Yeah.
on like loyal, like he was so helpful. He gave me all the secrets,
Sounds
and
like you hit the jackpot with all your teachers in your life.
I try to overall like find the good in people, and
Mm.
it's less about finding someone who is high up there and doesn't really
Right.
care about you, and more about someone who's at your level in like drive and passion and I
Hmm.
guess hunger, and is like passionate in working with you as equally as you are passionate working with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm
That's
saying?
powerful. Yeah.
So yeah, that happened, and I played those shows, and as soon as I graduated Full Sail after the 2-year bachelor's program, I moved out straight to LA, and I started. Yeah, I continued playing shows, and I just continued making videos. You know,
Wow.
it's been an interesting journey because a lot of those kids and a lot of those teachers were telling me like, what you're doing is great, but it's not really gonna last long. Like you need to go get an internship somewhere. Like you need to go.
Mm.
Um, uh, but then a lot of them were like, dude, like I don't know your world at all. Like this is crazy.
That's the
Like keep it
thing.
up. You
That's the
know.
thing. You can't even
Um,
call them haters because they're just unfamiliar with what
Yeah,
you're doing.
literally.
So that's all
yeah,
ultimately what it
yeah,
comes down to is that you're doing something so niche and so particular that it's confusing to them, it's unusual to them. So therefore they think it's not going to get anywhere, right? But that's not
exactly.
necessarily the case.
I mean, you made a genre on your own,
Yeah.
man, and of your own, which is
Yeah.
amazing. It's like what a lot of people dream to do, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, dude, congratulations to that, and well done, man.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, I think you've certainly made your own genre and you've certainly made your stamp on the industry. And listen, it's been absolutely amazing having you here on the show, and I hope you keep it up. Just for some of the viewers out there and listeners out there, tell us what you're working on and when the next project is being released.
Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, I would love to. Yeah. So like, I'm releasing an album called Asadi Worldwide. It's going to be out in October. I've been releasing a single from that album uh, since 2 months ago, every month up until October. This album is a collection of songs that I have been holding on to for the past 2 years. Basically,
Wow.
anything that screams timelessness and like a hit song that I feel is going to last forever, I kept because I wanted to save it for an album. So, this is my first solo album that I'll be releasing, and it's a big deal to me. It's a diverse selection of music that truly represents who I am today, and from my foundation in pursuing this Persian trap path to the overall Middle Eastern influence in electronic music. And
Yeah.
I hope that you guys could appreciate it. And I love to, if anyone who's watching doesn't know who I am and wants to check out my music, definitely go on my Spotify and uh, check out Caspian and some of my recent work, and check out Far Far Away, The Mountain's Daughter. Pretty soon there's a single coming out called Don't Leave So Soon, and hopefully you'll be around when the album drops, because I
Yeah.
hope the world sees what I see, and trying to help bring the what I see is a Middle Eastern wave coming, where people are gonna finally start to appreciate that Middle Eastern sound in
Yeah.
modern
No,
music
it's
today.
magical. It's magical, and all of those tracks that you just mentioned are phenomenal. So, guys, make sure you go and check those out. We'll leave some links in the descriptions. So, yeah, be sure to check all of that out. And also, Asadi Worldwide out in October. Be sure to tune in for that. And hey, listen, Asadi, it's been incredible having you on here. You're a person that I actually admire quite a lot. So, thank you for joining us and giving us some of your time.
Thank you so much, Asadi,
Thank you
as well, man.
guys.
Thank
You
you.
guys are amazing. Thank you for having me on. This is awesome. Appreciate it.
Oh, no worries, man. No worries. Take care. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode today. And yeah, if you really did enjoy it, please drop a like on YouTube and a comment. And if you are streaming on your preferred digital streaming platform for your podcasts, make sure you give us a good rating and tune in a couple weeks for another episode.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your time. Asadi, once again, thank you so much, dude. I'm super excited about listening to your music and the album as well. Guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.